Hello, procrastinators, and welcome to a very different kind of video. This is Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and I want to do a serious discussion on this game. Like, a genuine, serious discussion. More podcasty type thing, let my ideas flow. There's not even going to be any game visuals, because normally if I'm playing a game and trying to make jokes, that's two things that my brain's trying to do as well as make opinions. So I want to focus on the opinion stuff and ignore the jokes and ignore the gameplay. So it's going to be just more of a focused, genuinely serious discussion. Because this game really needs to be discussed, because this game is disgusting in several ways. It really is. So if serious discussion's not your thing, I don't mind if you miss this one out. There'll be another one tomorrow. I'm actually sliding this one as an extra video. I can now confirm that the Nerd³ drop will end on the 17th of April, somewhere around there. So you only got a little while before videos go back to once a day. But I just wanted to make this video now because it's so fresh. Something just happened while I was playing the game. It's so fresh, and I wanted to just sort of get it out there as soon as possible. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. If you don't know, it's the latest Metal Gear game. It's not a full game. It's sort of a prologue. So it's sort of like a little snippet of the full game, which is coming out at some point in the future. Nobody knows when. So it's a little sort of snippet of the game. No, actually, before we get there, let's talk about my Metal Gear Solid history. So I adore Metal Gear Solid 1. I think Metal Gear Solid 1 is the best game on the PlayStation 1. It is an exceptional game. It is playing it when it first came out was mind-blowing superbness. It's just exceptional. Even if you play it now, you will have an amazing time. It's one of those games that's really held up. Graphically, not so much, but the sort of the gameplay and everything is really held up well. Metal Gear Solid 2 is my favourite in the series. It's such a rug pull. The story is such a rug pull where you have the main characters in the short opening mission, and then the actual main part of the game, you're playing as someone else, which is a wonderful, wonderful way to mess with people. I don't think you could really get away with that now in this age of the internet where that would have been leaked. But that's interesting. I mean, Assassin's Creed 4 tried it, didn't they? Or was it Assassin's Creed 3 tried it? They had different characters played at the start, but that was only like the short little start bit. That went on forever. But no, I really like Metal Gear Solid 2. It refined the gameplay, added so much more to it. It was one of the most visually and technically impressive games I've ever played. I mean, everybody who's played that game knows that if you shoot the ice cubes will then land on the side and then melt. It is brilliant. It is weird. It's filled with secrets. An absolutely wonderful game. I adore it. Metal Gear Solid 3, which is most people's favourite, also an exceptional game. The complete change to the gameplay with the much more slow-paced survival sort of gameplay, it changed the series up so much. The story was slightly different because it was set in the past and stuff. It got a bit sort of, I don't want to say weirder, but it got a bit more self-referential with the sort of the other Raiden wandering around the place. Because the second game is batshit bananas. I mean, all of Metal Gear Solid is the campest game series. There is no getting away from it. It is a very camp, very silly series. Even when it's trying to go nukes and stuff like that, it's always stupid. It's not just a nuke, it's a nuke attached to a giant walking tank, or it's not a nuke, it's a nuke attached to a robot with the AI of your dead fucking mentor. It's bollocks. It's complete bollocks all the time, but that's why I enjoy it. It's endearingly bollocks. Metal Gear Solid 4, however, sort of went into the self-referential bollocks. I mean, they brought back Easter eggs and made them into full characters. So the jail guard Johnny, or whatever his name is, this guy called Johnny, who I believe he's called that because the first time, I think it's in Metal Gear Solid 2. No, in Metal Gear Solid 1, he's upside down with his ass in the air. In Metal Gear Solid 2, if you have the listening thing, you can hear him taking a massive shit. And instead of listening in an important conversation, you can hear him struggling. And then Metal Gear Solid 3, his dad was the guard who you end up doing stupid stuff to. And then in Metal Gear Solid 4, he became a full-on proper character and ended up marrying another main character. So it just got too self-referential. The gameplay also went from fixed camera to 3D, like full 3D moving camera and stuff. And that doesn't work. Well, that didn't work for the Metal Gear Solid series. Because Metal Gear is a fixed camera perspective. So you sort of, each room has its own camera thing, which worked wonders because then the designers would know exactly where you're looking at all times. So instead of it just being a stealth game, it was also a stealth puzzle game, which is why it worked so really well. It was that sort of, you knew where everything was and you could sort of work out how to do it all and stuff. It was exceptional for that sort of reason. So when it went to the full 3D gameplay, it didn't quite work because they didn't have enough sort of detection of where things are, and it sort of, the series just went batshit bananas. I mean, it had good moments. I enjoyed the microwave tunnel. one of the most exciting moments in games. But overall, I didn't like it very much. No, overall, it was a complete pile of shit. It had 2 cutscenes that were over an hour and a half long, for fuck's sake. It was a game that was very much tying up every loose end, just fucking but braiding it, sort of thing. It was mental. Then Metal Gear Solid, on the PSP, we have Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. There's also Acid, which is the card game, Acid 2, which is also a card game, Portable Ops. I've not played those, I've only played Peace Walker. Peace Walker is one of my, it's probably my least favourite, not 4, but it's probably like, it's after 1, 2, and 3, because it has that 3D camera and stuff, but it's got like sort of almost a Pokemon-esque collection system to it. So when you go and play loads of different missions, so instead of it being one big overarching mission, you have lots of little stuff to do as well. So when you're doing the little stuff, you go to new places you've been before, and you can actually catch guards that are going around. Once you've knocked them out, you can put a balloon on them, and then they work for you, and you gradually build Mother Base up, which is this big base you've got, and you just eventually have this huge, colossal base that does loads of stuff, and you send people off on missions. It's ironically the biggest game, and it's on the smallest console. It was a wonderful concept, and it was really, I really recommend playing it. It's sort of lost a bit of its campiness, but it was very enjoyable. It was a very enjoyable sort of thing. And I didn't want to play Metal Gear Solid 5, simply because it's been split in 2, which I thought was really weird. Like, splitting it into the first part, which is the one we just got, Ground Zeroes, and then the Phantom Pain, which is coming out in the future, I thought was a bizarre thing, but I thought it was a 50-50 split, because I wasn't paying much attention, because I sort of thought the story tidied itself up very neatly in 4, so it didn't need a 5. So you can imagine my slight surprise when I get Metal Gear Solid 5, simply because I have a PS4 and there's fuck all out for it. And once I start playing it, I do the first mission, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and that's the end of the game after an hour and 20 minutes, and I go, oh, wow. Okay, that's shorter than I thought that would be. I sort of ignored a lot of all the reviews and stuff for it because I tried to not be interested, and then I got it on a whim because I had some money left on my PlayStation Store account, and slightly regret that. But no, it's let's talk the good stuff. Let's go to Metal Gear Solid 5. Let's talk about the good stuff it does. The gameplay is mostly very solid, even though it's got the 3D stuff. It seems they've built it a lot more for the 3D stuff. They call it open world, but it's not. It's just one level. It's one map. The whole game is one map. All the missions, and there's the main mission and then 4 extra missions. I completed everything in under 2 hours, so it's very short. But all of it is it's designed well. It's designed very well. There's a lot of there's points where you're like, okay, there's probably a guard here because this is a logical point for guards to be, and there are, but there's also guards patrolling, and they change the guards. Once you complete an objective, of which there are 2, the guards change up a bit, so then you don't know where he is on the way back. They've added some stuff I really don't like to the gameplay, which is the classic, very iconic, when someone sees you, they go, woo, and the exclamation mark appears above the head, and you shit yourself, and then have to run away, hide, or try and gun them down and panic or whatever. That's gone. Well, it's sort of still there, but instead, time now slows to a crawl, and you have 10 seconds or so to kill them. So it's all slow motion, so the rain bullets are just the rain drops are going down very slowly. It looks gorgeous, but it killed one of my favourite things about Metal Gear Solid, which was, I don't want to be seen because it's going to make the scary noise. Which, it's true. It's like Papers, Please. When you fuck up in Papers, Please, or you're not quite sure you've done something right and you've let someone go through, you wait for that ticket thing to come through. And if it does, it goes, you're like, fuck it, it's the worst noise. And having that sort of real negative reaction to a noise being gone, it sort of killed the stealth off for me. Like, it's now a game where it doesn't matter if you get seen, because you've got, instead of, oh, fuck, and the enemies run off to call in extra people, you've got 10 seconds to pop them in the head. So, I mean, even with a trank gun, you just, oh, that missed. Oh, there we go, he's down. It's because you change weapons almost instantaneously in that mode, so there's no panic to it anymore. They've taken the tension out of a stealth game. The whole point of a stealth game is you're sitting in a dark corner going, fuck, 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 fuck. It's not sort of oh, there's a guy, hang on, run up to him. Oh, boom. You can, run straight at someone and you'll get a 10-second slow-mo to take them out. It's ridiculous. It just crippled the gameplay. I mean, for the rest of the gameplay, the crouching and stuff is very nice. The hiding, it's sort of a lean up against the wall, which doesn't quite work. Especially if you're trying to go through a narrow gap, you'll end up leaning on either sides of the walls and stuff. So it's okay. As the gameplay, the best thing I can say about this game is that the gameplay is okay. But that's sort of it. That's where we draw the line, even though they did butcher a lot of it. Sort of the actual mechanic-y stuff is quite nice. Now, let's talk about the stuff that pisses me off about this game, because there's a lot of it. Sort of a mild one. We'll start with the mild one. Is they've changed the voice of Snake. David Hayter has been the voice of Snake forever, and now it's Keith Sutherland, Jack Bauer. So when Snake talks, I hear Jack Bauer talking, not David Hayter. So he doesn't sound like the Snake voice. It's like, well, this is wrong. It just because Keith Sutherland has a very distinct voice, but it's a very distinct voice. It just sounds like Jack Bauer is now going on this mission. It's like Snake, and it's just Jack Bauer going, yeah, kill the president, save the hostages, or whatever he did. Shoot a guy called David Palmer. No, he was the president. Don't shoot him. I can't see 24 for ages. But it's very much just Jack Bauer being Jack Bauer. He's got the same voice, because when he was on The Simpsons, when Keith Sutherland on The Simpsons, he actually masked his voice and did a voice with it. But he doesn't do that for Snake, so it just sounds like Jack Bauer, and it really pissed me off. So that was sort of a mild thing. Let's get to the real big thing. It's fucking expensive. It's a complete piss take. It is urinating in the face of Metal Gear Solid fans. It is a shit show of evil corporate greed that this game is £25. It's £25 on PlayStation. In fact, when it came out, it was £30. I believe £30, $40 that would probably be then. Which is... No, it's just the early prologue. It's like the tanker mission from Metal Gear Solid 2. It is a tiny, tiny bit of game. There's nothing, right? So there's the little game, and then there's the 4 or 5 little extra missions. And that's it. You have one mission thing. But the mission doesn't change. It's not a mission you can play over and over again. Loads of Metal Gear Solid fans have been tweeting going, oh, it's got so much replayability. I'm like, well, I think Portal's got a lot of... I've played the original Portal probably 10 times. I'm not here going, Portal's a 20-hour game, because it's not. It's a 45-minute game. Well, hour and a half if you're playing it the first time. But, so you've got to go... When you go into the main mission, you've got to go and find Chico and then find Paz. Who, if you don't know who they are, that's because you've not been paying enough attention. If you played Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, and 4... but not Peace Walker, you have no fucking clue what's happening in Metal Gear Solid 5. Which, that's just annoying. I've played all of them, so I know what's going on, but if you've played the base 4, and you go into 5 expecting to know what's going on, you won't have a fucking clue. There is, however, a helpful 11 pages of text in-game on the main menu you can read to catch you up. Fucking... Anyway. Yeah, but the game isn't built to be replayed. At all. I mean, there's a few little secrets and extras and things, and we will get to those later. But there's no incentive to go back and play it a second time. Because what happens is you've got to go find Chico and then go and find Paz. And finding Paz was the best bit of the game, because you get given a Chico audio tape. Chico's a little kid, and he's got an audio tape that he's recorded of him being dragged from his cell where he is to go and find... where to go wherever Paz is being held. So you follow sounds, and you hear a flagpole, you hear a gate opening, and it's a really interesting way. You start navigating up, going, all right, where do I get? There's a flagpole, listening in with you because your binoculars can hear for some reason, and so it's got a listening device, I assume. But it's a real nice little mechanic. But the second time you play it, Chico and Paz are in the same place, so there's no randomness to it. Like, I played it the second time, and I literally completed it in under 9 minutes. The whole main campaign of the game was completed in 9 minutes because I skipped the cutscenes because I've already seen them and I knew where they were. So there's no replayability. I mean, you could go and explore for secrets and try and find the patches to unlock the exclusive mission to your console, but you'd need a guide for it, and then you're just doing guide stuff, and that's just painting by fucking numbers. It's more fun to just paint. So there's really no game. There's no real game to it. I mean, because for a story, the story starts very much in the middle and ends very much in the middle. Because it's carrying on from Peace Walker, so you need to know what's happening in Peace Walker. So it doesn't start a new story and it's like, this is a new thing we're doing. Because they've already been kidnapped. I can't remember how they were kidnapped. I don't think they were kidnapped to the end of the last game. So it's like, they're kidnapped at the end. No, they're not. And then there's a little bit at the end where it actually goes, oh, plot, ooh. But it's just sort of a thing that they could have done in an opening cutscene. Instantly, the last bit, which I'll ruin because fuck it, you shouldn't play this game, is the mother base that we built up in Peace Walker gets destroyed. And it's a really cool section with Snake aiming down and firing at everyone that you don't play. You just don't play. It's like, we've got sections where I'm in the helicopter shooting down. Why can't I, when he's doing this bit now, shoot down? It's just, let me play some of the game, Hideo, for the love of God. Hideo Kojima, the creator of Metal Gear Solid. So it's frankly, it's just a waste of money. It's such a piss take. I mean, because people have done this before. Dead Rising did it. Dead Rising, I think it was Case Zero they had, which was a prequel to Dead Rising 2, I believe. It wasn't 3, was it? I can't remember what number it's on. What just came out? 3 or 4? Fuck it, I don't know. But it was a prequel to one of the Dead Rising games. It was called Dead Rising Zero. It's roughly the same thing. It had 2 hours of gameplay, sort of standard gameplay, and then when it kind of went out, when you played all of it, if you wanted to do it to 100% completion, it took about 8 hours. So it was sort of the same sort of thing. But that was $5, not $40 fucking dollars. It's almost 10 times more expensive for just sort of less. It's bizarre. I mean, the open world map is tiny, and it's just sort of the one torture camp thing. And there's just the 4 extra missions all take place in there doing various things. Some are run and gun, some are on-rail. One is an on-rail shooter that has the worst ending in the fucking world. It made me just want to kill Hideo Kojima. I don't want to... Disclaimer, I don't want to kill Hideo Kojima. But I kind of did. It's just... I meant... He's in the game. Hideo Kojima puts himself in the game for one of the missions, okay? So they're all talking about this glorious, wonderful, oh, isn't he the best sort of guy who's been captured? He's driving around being a hero, and then at the end it reveals, when you save and bring him on the helicopter, that it's Hideo Kojima, and he literally looks at the camera and delivers a quip. It's just there going, fuck it, this is beyond the stages of wanking. This is beyond the stages. This is just some sort of new meta wank he's having in our faces. It's absolutely awful. It's the stuff I don't like when the series does. But yeah, so that's the it's just there going, what took you so long? And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, Hideo Kojima. Fuck you in the face. So then I replayed the mission and I kept shooting him, and I had a much more enjoyable time. That's the only replay value this game has had for me, is I got to shoot Hideo Kojima for making this game and charging 25 fucking quid for it. It's just a ludicrous price. It's 2 hours of gameplay. Which the fucking opening menu then's like, oh, you've completed 23% of the game. Have I done all the missions? Yes. Fuck you then. Apparently completing all the missions is 23% of the game. You have to play on hard mode and unlock all the secrets. We'll get to the... Excuse me. We'll get to the secrets later. No, actually, no. Let's talk about it now, because this is the real meat of what I want to talk about. I mean, the game's short length, all that sort of shit. That's the stuff I would normally rant about stuff. But this game had a little extra thing that just... It really kind of... It wasn't just... Because normally I get pissed off about consumer things. But this was more of a real problem at the game's core. It's a serious problem. I will give a trigger warning out now that I'm about to talk about sexual assault. Because this game has a lot of that sort of talk. So if you don't want to listen to that sort of thing, and get out now, because from here on out, that's what we're going to be talking about. So thanks for watching. But yeah, from now on out, we got to talk about that, because we've got to discuss the game here. The game is really dark. It pushes dark and gritty. It's like it's eating sand in a cupboard. It's just dark and gritty. It's not that enjoyable for its tone. Its tone is off from the rest of the series. I mean, the rest of the series is all gay as John Barrowman sort of light stupidity. With it, it's okay. It does play with dark ideas like child soldiers and that sort of thing, but it never really embraces it. It's always sort of like a passing mention, and then we go back onto the insanity and the woman who is stupid lucky and doesn't get shot with bullets for some reason. So it's that sort of, you know, it was a very light series. That's the sort of thing Metal Gear Solid was, and now he's sort of pushing it in a dark, gritty way. The game ends with Paz. She has a bomb in her chest. They find out she has a bomb in her chest. So in the final cutscene, it's a very weirdly sexual and gratuitous scene. It's sort of like... It's not sexually gratuitous, but it's like gratuitous and it's sexual, kind of. They don't have any aesthetic, and they real zooms up close to see each one of her stitches being plucked out. Then they open her chest up, and there's sort of, you know, just intestines everywhere, and so she's screaming through this whole thing. It's really quite off-putting and dark and really fucking twisted sort of thing. And then they get the bomb out and they lob it off the helicopter that they're on. And yay, day saved. And then a little bit later, she reveals she has another one. Another bomb, and the bomb is inside and then she explodes, spoilers. But, it's hinted at, it's not subtly hinted at, it's heavily hinted at that she was raped several times and has had a bomb stuck inside a lady nethers. So, sorry, I'm just using my colourful language, and I really shouldn't be. So... It's a difficult thing for me to talk about. It's a very difficult thing for me to talk about, especially on sort of a mostly comedy channel. Especially because that's not the darkest bit. That's not the worst bit. I mean, it's fucking serious, man. supposed to be a light series. It shouldn't go this sort of way. I mean, this is a series with what? It had an arm that took someone over and gave him an English accent. Bisexual immortal vampires, cow robots, Raiden was naked during whatever the fuck the ending of Metal Gear Solid 2 was. Metal Gear Raiden is essentially, not Metal Gear Raiden, Metal Gear Rising, that's essentially canon. It's the fucking stupidest thing in the world, it should be. So going this way, I just don't really buy it. I don't really want to buy it. It's just sort of, I don't know, it's got that sort of like flashing up Guantanamo Bay on the fucking screen every 8 minutes. It's that sort of tone. It's I only would have seen that once during the gameplay length. But, yeah, it's heavy on the torture. Instead of just the usual random electrodes, hand on the button so you don't get torture, it's very much more staples, huge, really great bolts through people's legs so they can't walk and stuff like that. It's really, really dark. But, see, I don't know if people like this. I don't know who he's making this game for, because Metal Gear fans like a very sort of thing, a very sort of camp, stupid, sci-fi bollocks that Metal Gear Solid is. Instead, I don't know if they're going to buy this sort of thing. Maybe other people like it, I don't know. A slightly bizarre thing is that the villain in this game, because it's all trying to set up this villain, all this torture and rape is setting up the villain as being the worst villain, because I think it's where they're finally telling the story where Big Boss goes evil or something. So the villain in this game, they're just trying to set up as the evilest villain of all time. But you only see him at the very start of this game and never again. In the opening cutscene, you see him get on a helicopter, sort of half see him get on a helicopter, and that's it. Because there's no boss, there's no monsters, there's no anything in this game. It's just sort of that the two little fetch quests that you do. The opening cutscene, I will say, is very nice. It's a single shot, it's 10 minutes. It's all in engine, it ends with the going straight into the gameplay. So it's absolutely gorgeous. Just a side note. But yeah, so the assault that happened to Paz is I believe it's even mentioned by the guards. The guards have no voices. If you aim the gun at the guards and go with the freeze and then try and interrogate them, they just sort of grunt and go, "Ugh," and then at the bottom it says what that grunt meant. It has subtitles. It fucking feels like a stupid fucking demo. It even ends with a trailer for the next game. It literally ends with a trailer for the next game. It's like, look, it's the Phantom Pain. Anyway. Sorry, getting off point. People told me to go, because I complain that the game's length, because it is fantastically short. Be like, no, 1 million hours. No, it's not. People said, go and find some of the secret stuff. So I played through and I found a secret. I found, it wasn't a secret, it's just sort of, I rescued another prisoner, and it gave me a tape. It gave me another one of Chico's tapes, like the one I followed to get the Paz mission. This tape is 10 minutes long, and is a reward. It actually, when you do the thing, it comes up rewards, then gives you a new gun, and then you get this tape. So it's a reward. And the tape in question features, and there is no nicer way of putting this, child rape. It's an audio log of child rape. And other rape. It is, yeah, it's not pretty. So basically, it's Paz being whipped or something. Her clothes are ripped off. Audibly, you hear the ripping and everything. And then it's Chico is forced on her. So the little 13-year-old is forced on the Paz, the 20-something-year-old. Yeah. Like I said, game where an arm gave someone an English accent. It's out of place. It's really out of place. And it's unnecessary. Like, what is the story gaining from me listening to this? What is the story being told? Because remember, this is an extra. This isn't to make me hate the villain even more. This isn't a thing. This is just something I explore if I play through the game. This is a reward. And the audio log gets a little worse. The audio log ends, and I had to listen to this several times, this end bit, just because what I thought it was implying is really fucked up. Basically, after all of this rape and counter-rape, some of the other things go in about gang rape and stuff like that. It's rape-heavy, this game. It ends with Paz coming on to Chico, and it's implied at the end that they have sex for fun. Just, let's have sex. Remember that Chico is a 13-year-old and Paz is 25. Or whatever. She's definitely in her 20s. So that's a reward in Hideo Kojima's mind. That's not adding to the gameplay. That's not adding to the story, because it's an extra, so not more people are going to listen to it. I don't understand the point of this tape. I don't understand why this tape is in this game. Because there are two reasons why this tape exists. One is that Hideo Kojima is even more of a fucking hack writer than we ever thought possible. Or two, it's genuinely a reward. And it's intended as a reward. Now, the sexualization of women in Metal Gear Solid is something that makes me almost embarrassed to admit that I like Metal Gear Solid. I mean, in the last game with Paz, Peace Walker, you could zoom in. You could zoom in and out on a picture of her during a cutscene or something. And the further you zoomed in, the more of her clothes came off. So I don't know if listening to her having her clothes ripped off is genuinely supposed to be a reward. I can tell you one thing for certain, and that's I don't want to play Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. To be perfectly honest, I don't want to play any of the Metal Gear Solids I like anymore, because this is just... Either it is sexual assault for titillation, essentially torture porn, rape porn, or it is Hideo Kojima being the worst writer in the entire universe. And I don't know which one it is, and I think that is what gets me most. I do not know. It's the end of it. It's that bit at the end of that fucking tape. Because it's not a character moment. It seems so out of place for the two characters that we know. That her forcing himself... It's like... It's disgusting, is what I call it. And it's very difficult to offend me. But I don't know. I've got sort of like, most things is like, I don't offend me. But this just got to me. Because I genuinely think Kojima is rewarding me exploring his game by letting me listen to a 25-year-old come onto a 13-year-old after she's been raped and had her clothes ripped off and all sorts of things that happen in the rest of these tapes. I don't want to go anymore. Back in my day, when you got a fucking secret in a Metal Gear, it was a bandana that gave you infinite ammo. Or a fucking stealth camo. Now we get tapes with rape on them. As a reward! I mean, that is the bit that pisses me off. Because if you were telling a serious story and you did this sort of thing, I'd be like, fuck, that's a bit much for me. It's not the sort of thing I like. But, you know, so I'm not pro-censorship. You can say these sort of things that you want. But with games, it's interactive. I've done a thing and I've been given a reward. And the reward I have been given is the audio tape. Hideo Kojima has done something. And, like, no one's clocked on this. People clocked on, like, a cutscene when one guy who worked for Tomb Raider accidentally said, oh, there's a rape scene or near rape scene or something. And everyone went, but this is genuinely... a reward of rape. That is the most fucked up thing. And it's not like fucked up in context. I'm not going, oh, it's so shocking. I'm there going, fucking hell, Hideo Kojima should take a step back and go, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. Let's take that out. Because the thing is, I know some people go, oh, it's just design. He wants the game to be shocking. That's not a defense. That's not a defense at all. Because it's still shit. Let's see what you think. The subreddit for this, the thread in the subreddit for this will be heavily moderated, I assure you. But I think this is something we need to talk about because, I don't know, like no other people have picked up on me. I don't know if that's because it's a secret and no one's heard of it, or people just genuinely are like, yeah, well, we're doing that now, and don't care. But it's, I think this needs to have a lot of discussion. A lot of discussion needs to be had about this, because at the end of the day, my biggest complaints about the game all pale in comparison. They do. They just pale in comparison. The fact that it's fantastically short. The fact that it's a demo. It's a fucking demo. For £25. All those consumer things that I would normally get so amped up about. All fall by the wayside because we are given rape as a reward. Doesn't make the game dark, Hideo Kojima. It makes you fucking idiot. Thanks for watching, whatever this video was. Tomorrow, back to the frivolity, I assure you. Ta-ra.